Hey everybody, welcome back to the Show and Tell Show. It's us, it's Jan and Nicole over at Penetanguishene Centennial Museum, and it's me, Nahani, and Genevieve over here at Huronia Museum. We're still meeting every week on Zoom to explore our collection and challenge each other to dig out things we don't get to normally dig out. This is a makeup episode. I had a little technical difficulty last week and our episode got lost, so we're redoing it for everybody because apparently some people missed it and asked where we were, which is awesome. We love that you love us and what we're doing for you. So yeah, here we go. We were challenged to, I think we challenged you, Penetanguishene,
yes,
to bring out our prettiest dress. And so we'll go first. And Genevieve, what do we have?
Okay, I have this wonderful dress. It's probably the oldest piece of clothing in our collection. It dates to the 1830s, probably the mid 1830s. It is wonderful, and it's very difficult to see. I can stand back here. Ta-da!
oh wow.
And it is very, very typical of its period. Earlier in the 1830s, you'd find those massive leg of mutton sleeves, padded sleeves. But this one, this dress is a little bit more restrained. It has very exuberant coloring with red, green, and purple, and on a light colored ground. Very typical of the period is this simple bodice with a point. Very full skirt, and I'll give you an idea. Because this is on a padded hanger, it doesn't really give you an idea of what it would look like if it was filled with a real woman. So I've got.
Are you going to put it on
here?
Oh,
Yeah, put it on. This thing has a 23-inch waist. There's no way I could fit into that. But here is what you would find a dress look like.
oh my gosh.
Got really wide. It accentuates the shoulder, so you've got and then you've got a massive skirt, a long full skirt, and that's what all that pleating does. It allows for a bustle to be tied around the woman's waist to hold it out on the sides and give you a nice bottom. We've also got this, which is really typical of the period. We've got, it's boned down the center, and we've got folded pleats again, folded pieces of fabric that move onto the shoulder and kind of accentuate that width. And then it moves down into a nice narrow waist, which would be corseted underneath to create that restriction. And yeah, and then you've got the long, full, plain skirt. This is a day dress, so it's not something that a woman would typically be wearing. A lot of the more elaborate dresses that you do see are probably gowns meant for evening use. So this is something that a woman would be wearing during the day. The upper part is lined with a polished cotton, plain polished cotton, but this is not, the rest of it's not lined. And I have to say, it's a really terrible fabric. It's made of some sort of wool, although it's really, really fine. It's really scratchy, and it's not something that I'd want to wear. The shoulders the sleeves are short sleeves, and I have seen from the mid 1830s a lot of the emphasis, rather than that big leg of mutton puffy upper sleeve, you've got a more restrained kind of sleeve with folds and poofs right here, and then a wider sleeve down at the bottom. We don't have that with this. I'm not sure if it was altered in the past or whether there was a separate kind of sleeve made of a finer like net material. But regardless, it's still a wonderful, beautiful dress, and it's in wonderful condition, no stains, no holes. It's just a terrific example of women's clothing from the period.
It's so perfect. I know it's not a reproduction, but it almost would think it was, because it's unbelievably in good, the condition is amazing.
It is.
Who owned it? Like who donated it?
Oh dear me. It did come from Betty oh, now I can't remember her last name. It was her great grandmother's. She had immigrated to Canada in 1830 with all of her children and her husband.
Wow.
I think by that point she had about 6 or 7 kids. So that's why I find it really remarkable that this thing has a 23-inch waist.
Yeah.
Because I know that after having 3 kids, there's certainly no way that I could get my muscles to squeeze that tightly anymore. So she came to Canada. The family settled in Guelph in 1830, and they remained there until Betty Ann's father, who was a pharmacist, moved to Midland.
Mm. Wow, so not only that dress was worn here in Canada, you would think that that was just sort of like something worn in Britain in more high society and not here in the 1830s.
Yeah.
And I guess it's remarkable that it's lasted as long. Normally clothing is cut down and refashioned. So it's nice that the family decided, for whatever reason, to preserve it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They obviously knew how to preserve it right.
What have you got, Penetanguishene Centennial Museum?
Well, what we have is we have the upper portion. We are missing the skirt, so it's oh, this is difficult to see. I'm trying to let you see all the embellishment on it. There's a lot of bead work.
Oh, so
Yes,
beautiful.
you can see that. Yeah.
I can't get the right angle. Can you see it now?
See it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is also of a very tiny waist. There is embellishments on the sleeves as well. There, you can see that better.
That really well, yeah.
Yeah. And in the inside is like a really handsome, like classy looking pinstripe. And it also does, like your dress, have some boning in it. But this boning has been sewn in separately, and it's been sewn in by hand. The rest of the garment is machine made. So there's also this loop here, which I'm assuming would attach either to a bustle or to the skirt itself. And it's to hook and eyes. But if we don't know for sure, like this is from 1890, but we don't have an owner name for it at all. And so we don't really know a lot about it. But if we might even speculate that it could be a mourning garment because it's from 1890, would still be within the Victorian period. If it was a mourning garment, it would be worn for 2 years by the widow. And but in contrast, the gentleman, if he was widowed, he was expected to move on and marry again as quickly as possible. So yeah, the women were in full mourning for 2 years. And so this would be something that they might wear. And they were not expected to be seen in society except to go to church. So their life was quite restricted. Yeah. I should tell you about the pleating here. We have pleating as well. And interestingly enough, the pleating down the front here is also separate. It's not pleated right into the jacket, but it has been sewn into the shoulder seam here. So it's rather separate. Oh.
Wow.
And there's the back. Yeah. So the beads themselves are black glass beads. And at first I thought that they were all individually sewn onto the garment, but it appears that they're on like cording, and then all the embellishment has been created through the cording, the way that's just been draped on the fabric. So that's kind of interesting as well. And there is glass beads around the neck as well.
Gorgeous.
Yes. So
Yeah,
that's our piece for today.
That's absolutely gorgeous. I love it.
Betty Ann Tatum. That's who donated. I'm sorry, Tatum family. I've remembered.
That's awesome. So this was our makeup episode. We did it. We got our pretty dresses out. Then we threw out the challenge for marine heritage. That episode is already out. But next week, we are covering tourism. tourism in
Yes.
North Simcoe. So let's see what we can get out for that. I'm glad we got to make up this episode for all those people who missed it. And we'll see you on Wednesday next week, as usual, on the Show and Tell show, as long as technology works. All right.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.